Just going over some of Kent Hovind's Adolf Hitler slides, quotes from his Dangers of Evolution seminar number 5. He had about 6 or 7 total Adolf Hitler quotes throughout that whole seminar. And of those 6 or 7, 3 of them were just not Hitler quotes at all. They were somebody else or just complete fabricated misquotes, which kind of begs the question, how credible is Kent Hovind? Because this is a pattern you see throughout his whole all of his videos. He frequently misquotes people or takes things completely out of context or just has sources that don't actually have the quotes that he's cited in them. So we'll look at this one real quick. This is, I regard Christianity as the most fatal, seductive lie that ever existed. He's got Larry Azar here, 20th Century in Crisis. So the quote Kent Hovind cited as Adolf Hitler was actually Friedrich Nietzsche from The Will to Power. And here you can see a page from that book. It's actually free to download. You can get it off of Apple iBooks for free, or pretty much many other sources for free. Such a famous author, and it's fairly a classical book at this point. So here it is right here. The quote, I regard Christianity as the most fatal, seductive lie that ever existed. Now, some might argue that, hey, Adolf Hitler was just quoting Nietzsche. But here's actually the source that Kent Hovind had given, Larry Azar's book. And you can see right here where the mistake came in. Here's the Hitler quote. The heaviest blow that ever struck humanity was the coming of Christianity. And then immediately following that was Nietzsche. You can see here he's got several lines. And then here at the bottom, I regard Christianity as the most fatal, seductive lie that ever existed. And Larry Azar is saying it certainly appears Nietzsche and Hitler at least breathe the same air. Now, it's possible that Kent Hovind actually read this book and just got the quotes mixed up, but I think it's more likely he was just copying this quote that somebody else mixed up and never even bothered to fact check it for himself. If you tell a lie long enough, loud enough, and often enough, the people will believe it. Adolf Hitler. We don't actually have a source for this. It just says Adolf Hitler. It doesn't say Mein Kampf or speech at Nuremberg rally or addressing, the chambers or anything like that. There's a lot of things wrong with this quote. First of all, most people attribute this quote to Joseph Goebbels, Hitler's propaganda minister. But the funny thing is, Joseph Goebbels never actually said this quote quite like this. Now you can see here later on down the road, years after Kent Hovind's seminars, he seems to have corrected himself sometimes. He's pretty hit or miss. He still uses this quote quite a lot. Now down here at the bottom, he's got it saying the Jewish virtual library. The thing about that is this Jewish virtual library does have that quote, but it also doesn't cite, the source, when or where or how Joseph Goebbels says that. It's just this quote. Here's the source Kent had cited on here for the Joseph Goebbels source, and of course it doesn't have a source itself. It does have this thinkexist.com source. But if you actually go and click that source, it goes to a web page that doesn't exist anymore. It's just been taken down. So this is kind of why you don't use sources like this. You use contemporary first-hand sources, not second-hand sources. The actual source seems to be closely, kind of a close hybrid of this one. The English followed the principle that when one lies, it should be a big lie, and one should stick to it. Now, here's what you really want. Here's the citation. Here's exactly where he said it and when he said it, and you can tell he's not suggesting that the Nazis or himself or Hitler actually do this. He's accusing the English of lying frequently and making it a big lie and sticking to it. So. But he's still got this a little bit screwed up here. He's got the exact same quote that he attributed to Goebbels in that previous slide, but he's got it back saying Adolf Hitler. Same mistake he made all those years ago when he was doing his, his seminars. And you can see here, it's kind of like he figured it out because he's got, propagandist to Minister Goebbels also said it, uh, apparently saying the exact same quote. So let's just go ahead and fix that for him. But the other funny thing is he's got the Third Reich at War as being the citation for this quote. I went ahead and got that book. It was only $5. You can get it off of iBooks or Amazon. It's available for digital download. But that quote isn't in there anywhere. It's almost as if he just kind of picked a random World War II book or book about the Nazis and just said the quote was in there to try to back it up. But, I could be wrong. If anybody finds that quote in there, please show me. I'd love to see it because it's not in there. Okay, so here's that Joseph Goebbels quote again that I showed you earlier, the actual Joseph Goebbels quote from 1941. And you can see here how it got spun the way it did. But the actual quote is, "The English follow the principle that when one lies, one should lie big and stick to it. And they keep up their lies even at the risk of looking ridiculous." Now, I bring this up again because this right here, the big lie, Joseph Goebbels was actually referencing Adolf Hitler there. And I bring that up because Kent Hovind repeats the actual Adolf Hitler lie, the quote about the big lie. He's done it fairly frequently recently.
The ground. Adolf Hitler said, if you tell a lie big enough, if you tell a big enough lie and tell it frequently enough, it will be believed.
Now, it seems like Kent Hovind is trying to suggest that this was sort of like the Nazi playbook, that Adolf Hitler and Joseph Goebbels were suggesting that this was actually their tactics. And he even accuses the evolution side of kind of repeating this tactic as if we're kind of like taking pages from the Nazi playbook.
I don't know how to say that in German, but propaganda technique and a logical trick, a fallacy. The expression was coined by Adolf Hitler when he dictated his 1925 book, Mein Kampf, about the use of a lie so colossal that no one would believe that someone would have the impudence to distort the truth so infamously. You tell a lie that is so huge, people think, well, he can't possibly be lying. Nobody would tell that big of a lie. The idea that birds are dinosaurs fits into this category.
So the funny thing is that Adolf Hitler and Joseph Goebbels, these quotes, they were actually accusing other people of these things. So Joseph Goebbels was accusing the English of lying. Adolf Hitler was accusing, as far as the big lie, he was accusing the Jews of lying about a specific German general who was, so famous and, so successful that nobody would believe that he was the one that lost World War I. So really, it's Kent Hovind who is actually taking a page from the Nazi playbook, and he's making the exact same arguments that Adolf Hitler and Joseph Goebbels made. He's just accusing other people. Instead of accusing the English and the Jews, he's accusing the evolution people. So, well done, Kent Hovind. Let me control the textbooks, and I will control the state. This is another one. You can see Adolf Hitler, not, Adolf Hitler Mein Kampf or Adolf Hitler, in his speech or some letter or something. It just says Adolf Hitler. So that should always be a red flag, just so anybody knows. That should always be a red flag. You should always have a real source and not a second-hand source, Don't have an Adolf Hitler quote, but quote it from somebody's book from 1990, Have a good contemporary source. That's what any responsible, sophomore in college would do. You would expect somebody, even with a fake degree, to be able to fake it a little bit better than this. So I looked all over for the quote. It's all over the internet, sure, but again, it always just says Adolf Hitler. No actual citation about when he said it or where he said it, the context he was saying it. It kind of sounds like something he would say. He did, kind of brag about, having control of the youth through the Hitler Youth, but again, this quote doesn't seem to actually be a real one. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up right there. So 3 out of 7 Adolf Hitler quotes were not even Adolf Hitler quotes at all. Either somebody else said those quotes, or the quotes were just kind of, fabricated, and he's just repeating some other, basically an internet meme that he never even fact checked. And you have to question the credibility of somebody that gets half their quotes wrong like this. And this isn't just an anomaly that he just screwed up a few quotes. This is pretty much reflective of all of his quotes. So about half of the things he says are either complete fabrications, or the person didn't say it at all. And at best, they're just quote lines where they're completely taken out of context. So I'm just going to leave you here with this last one. This is another complete bungled quote. I will not accept that creation philosophically, because I do not want to believe in God. Therefore, I choose to believe in that which I know is scientifically impossible, spontaneous generation arising to evolution. So this is supposedly George Wall. George Wall never said this. And my big challenge to the creationists is to go out and fact check this. There's so many people that just worship Kent Hovind and take everything he says for granted. Take a risk, go out. It's not a risk at all. Just see if this is true. It's kind of unbelievable that somebody would actually say this and admit this, especially on record. So this is extremely suspicious. And the thing is, this quote doesn't exist at all. There are variations of it, and but Walt never said that he didn't want to believe in God, and he never says he chose to believe that which is scientifically impossible. So the real quote is right there. You can look at Talk Origins. It's too long to actually, show on a few slides, but it's really, those things are not in there at all. This is completely made up. And you know, in academia, this is just this is something that gets you fired. If you quote people, misquote people this badly, this is punishable. This is just extreme negligence. So anyway, if nothing else, you got to really start questioning whether this guy is being completely honest, or if he's just being so irresponsible that he doesn't even fact check the quotes he's copying from, because really this is just pathetic.